We're going to continue with arrays. Now that you know what an array is, let's talk about it in a little more detail. A square array is a special rectangular array that has the same number of rows and columns. Just a reminder, the rows rows go across, and columns go up and down. So it might help if you need a reminder. Let's give ourselves a reminder. Rows go across, columns are up and down. So that's a row, that's a column. Just a reminder, I know that you know. So a rectangular array has the same number of rows and columns. A square array represents a whole number called a square number. The first four square numbers in their arrays are shown below. Let's look at this one. If it's a square array, we know it has the same number of rows and columns. So when we look at number 1, there's only one row and one column, one little dot. Let's look at the next one. How many rows are there? 2. There are 2 rows. 1, 2. And how many columns? Remember, columns go up and down. 2. 1, 2. Let's look at the next one. How many rows are there? Yes, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. And how many columns that go up and down? 1, 2, 3. So what we see is a square array for the number 1, an array for the number 4, an array for the number 9, and an array for the number 16. How many rows do we have for the number 16? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many columns? The same amount. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just a reminder, a square array represents a whole number called a square number. No, it might seem confusing, but let's just try this together because I think we can do it. Draw a square array to represent the next 2 square numbers after 16. Then we're going to write each square number. Now you're thinking, Miss Adams, how do I know what number is next? Let's start with our rows and columns. For 1, we had 1 square. Then we had the number 4. We had 2 rows, 2 columns. Then we had 3 rows, 3 columns. And then 4 rows, 4 rows, 4 columns. Again, we had 1 row, 1 column. For the number 4, we have 2 rows and 2 columns. For the number 9, 3 rows and 3 columns. For the number 16, we have 4 rows going across, 3, 4, and then 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what do you notice? How can we determine the next number? Let's think about it. We had 1 row, 1 column. We had 2 rows and 2 columns. Then we had 3 rows and 3 columns, 4 rows and 4 columns. So even though we don't know the final answer, our number here, our square number, we know there are how many rows that would be next? Yes, 5. So let's start there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to make another row of 5. So I know I'm going to need 5 rows. Where's 1 row? There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. I also know there are 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it's a square number, the number of rows and columns will be exactly the same. So there are 2 different ways we can get this square number. We can count each little dot, or we can multiply 5 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5. So 2 different ways to solve for this square number. Let's count the dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I have 25. And if I were to multiply 5 times 5, then my answer is still 25. So 25 would be the next square number. What square number would come after 25? I had 5 rows and 5 columns. Now how many rows and columns do I need? Yes, 6. Why? Because I started with 1, 2, 3 rows and 3 columns, 4 rows and 4 columns, 5 rows and 5 columns. Now 6 rows and 6 columns. So for my rows and my columns, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I know I need 6 down. My columns go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for this square array, I can again multiply 6 times 6 because I have 6 columns and 6 rows. It's the same amount because it's a square number. If I were to multiply 6 times 6, what would my answer be? Yes. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 is my next square number. My next question asks me to list all of the square numbers through 50. We're not going to use counters. We're going to draw arrays if needed. The great thing is I already started at number 1. Remember that? We started at number 1. What number are we stopping at? 50. Is 36 pretty close? Yeah, we're almost there. So far, let's start with 1 through 36. What are my square numbers? 1, 4, 9. Then what? Yes. And then? Yes. And then? Yes, 36. Now, Miss Adams, you're telling us to go to 50. You're telling us to go to 50. How do I know what to do next? Let's continue to draw our arrays. This time, I'm not going to draw it. I don't have enough room. But I'll show you what it looks like on a separate sheet of paper. If I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I left off at 6. 6 columns and 6 rows. I'm going to go to 7 next. So what I did, I drew 7 going down for my columns and 7 across. So I have 7 columns across, then I have 7 rows. 7 times 7 equals, yes, 49. So my last number before 50 would be 49. Here are all of my arrays, 1 through 50. Remember, an array has the same number of rows and columns. The same number of rows and columns. For our next problem, how can you find the 10th square number without drawing the array? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We did 7. How can I find 10? Let's think about this. Yes, we're going to multiply. If we multiply 5 times 5 and 6 times 6. And our last example, 7 times 7. So for 10, we are going to multiply 10 times 10. We're going to multiply 10 times 10. On your own, I want to see if you can, just for fun, it's not going to count against you. Can you find the first 10 square numbers? What are the first 10 square numbers? Here's a hint. We already started. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So I'm only asking you to find 3 more. So the first 7 we already have. We know it's 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. That's 7. What are the next 3? I want to see if you can find the next 3 on your own, and then tell me about any patterns that you see. Describe any patterns that you see for these 10 numbers. For example, are they all odd numbers? Are they all even numbers? Does it change? Do the numbers increase by odd numbers? Give me some examples of any patterns that you see in these numbers. We started with 7. I want you to find the last 3. Remember, for 1, we multiplied 1 times 1. For 4, we multiplied 2 times 2, 2 rows and 2 columns. To get 3, we multiplied 3 times 3. For 16, we multiplied 4 times 4. For 25, we multiplied 5 times 5. For 36, what do we multiply? Yep, I knew you had it. 6 times 6. And then 7 times 7. So how can I find the next 3? Yes, 8 times 8. What is the answer? You're going to put it there. Keep going until you get to 10. When you are finished, please submit. After you have submitted your array assignment, you're going to complete the math boxes. You are going to solve. These are practicing our multiplication skills. Number 2, we are not going to address, so you can put a line through that. I want you to answer number 3, A through E. Number 4, using traditional subtraction. Just a reminder, start with the ones column. And then answer number 5. We're not going to answer number 6. I'm going to share that again. After you complete your array assignment, solve A through E in our first box. 3, greater than, less than, or equal to. 4, A and B, traditional subtraction. And then finally, number 5, and please submit.